What's up everybody, you're watching Model Aviator, I'm Adam. This week we have another new release announcement from Horizon Hobby in the E-flite UMX line, and this one is not an update of a classic. This one's brand new, the UMX Conscendo. The 1.5 meter Conscendo Evolution is one of the best-selling E-flite models of all time. Capable of soaring, hauling the mail, and an array of sport aerobatics, it appeals to a wide range of pilots in the hobby. There is some assembly required, but very little. You simply plug your wing into the main board on the fuselage and tighten it down with a single quarter-turn thumb screw, and that's it. She's ready to rock and roll. The UMX Conscendo does come in a carrying handle box similar to other ultramicro boxes. You can take the wing off and use that box for storage and transport just like your other ultramicros if you'd like. The UMX Conscendo has a wingspan of 31.6 inches, a length of 20.6 inches. Our example weighs 4.7 ounces, ready to fly with a recommended 3S 300 mAh Spectrum battery. It has a Spectrum 3197 DSMX receiver and brushless ESC board, a Spectrum 1408 2050 kV brushless Outrunner 12-pole motor, and Spectrum A201 2.3 gram linear servos. It's equipped with AS3X, an optional safe select, and it is 2 and 3S compatible, which means you have the same battery options that you do with a lot of the more recent UMX offerings that are 2 and 3S compatible. You can use your old E-flite 2-cell 280s with the PH connector. Spectrum makes a 300 mAh 30C 2-cell with a PH connector. To use either of those batteries, you need this adapter. If you want a more direct connection, Spectrum makes a 2-cell 350C with the JST and a 300 3-cell 30C with the JST if you really want to maximize your power. If you have a charger with EC3 or IC3 connectors, you can use this charge adapter to charge batteries with a PH connector and this one to charge batteries with a JST. E-flite learned a lot from the original 1.5 Conscendo. That's why the Evolution happened. One of the big improvements was to greatly reinforce that airframe due to the tremendous flight loads that you can put on one of these at speed. So Mini-Me here got the treatment right off the bat. It has a composite reinforced airframe to handle whatever you might want to throw at it. And you know exactly what you're throwing at it because it has smart telemetry. So if you have a compatible Spectrum transmitter, you have quite a few options, and there are a couple of telemetry options with the UMX Conscendo that no other UMX plane has to date. You get flight log information, minimum and maximum voltage, minimum and maximum ESC status, on the fly ESC status, and new for the UMX Conscendo, gyro information and a G meter. As you can see here, we put that reinforced airframe to the test and pulled a few G's of our own. The UMX Conscendo is small and can be very fast when you push it, so the high-vis paint scheme with the lime green is there to help you with orientation. Like any good motor glider, it has an abrupt brake and a folding prop to keep the airframe aerodynamic and efficient when you're gliding. And finally, there is a flapperon and spoileron option that you can activate on yours if you'd like. When it comes to setup, the manual is very well written. It's in the new format that takes you step by step how to program your transmitter to the UMX Conscendo. All the pertinent information is there, making sure that your control surfaces are centered, how to do that if something isn't perfectly centered, expo, balance, rate suggestions, all things that you can adjust after you fly the airplane to your liking, but their setup is a very good starting point for your maiden. It will get you through that successfully. There's also an advanced setup section that takes you step by step through the process of activating the spoilerons and flapperons if you'd like to use those. We deviated from the manual setup a bit just for our personal flying style. This is not a requirement for anyone. This is just what it took for us to get the airplane the way we wanted it personally. We thought we'd share that with you. So two things we changed. The first thing is we moved the elevator ball link on the elevator control horn to the innermost hole to give us more elevator throw. I just wanted a more responsive elevator. It's plenty responsive, stock, but I wanted more personally. The other thing we did, and this addresses a characteristic of any powerful motor glider. If you trim your glider to glide, then when you're under power, particularly tremendous amounts of power, the airplane's going to want to climb on you pretty drastically. Now for folks that just like to glide, that's not really a big deal. They tend to just compensate for that with down elevator, get to altitude really quick, shut it off, and glide around, and that's fine. For folks that like to do some of both, there's a couple of ways to address that. Some people do flight modes. So they'll have one flight mode where the airplane's trimmed for glide, one flight mode where it's trimmed for being under power. I don't like to flip switches if I can help it. So the way that we address that, being a pilot that does a little bit of both, I do like to glide the airplane, but I also like to be in that power and goof off a lot, fly it as kind of a speedster and a sport aerobatic plane as well. So we did a throttle to elevator mix that mixes in a bit of down elevator as you really get in the power, and basically retrims the airplane so that I really don't have to flip any switches, and that worked out really good for us. So our setup info page is next. You can see our full setup, plus we'll show you a picture of our very simple throttle to down elevator mix. I think it's like a 7% mix, so it doesn't take much. Basically, it's just trimming the airplane for big amounts of power. So you can check out our setup, pause it if you'd like, and look at all the information there. And if you want to set yours up the way we did, you can. Okay, time to get to the flying. This was an interesting process with this one. This past week, Heidi and I actually had more time to devote to this, but less opportunity. The short days and the crazy weather here in Georgia lately, it's been windy, very windy, rainy and gray, not conducive to getting good footage of a tiny RC airplane. So we went out no less than 3 different times to 2 different venues, struck out the first couple days. The last day we got a little bit of a reprieve in the rain in the late afternoon, and we got some pretty decent 3-cell footage. We did not have an opportunity to fly it on 2-cell. We just ran out of time. So it is what it is. I will say this. We've flown all of the newer Ultramicros from Horizon that are 3-cell and 2-cell compatible, and the way the power works out is as follows. On 2-cell, they all have enough. On 3-cell, they all have way more than enough to absolutely absurd. This one is absolutely absurd. It is a screamer. You will see what I'm talking about when you check out this footage. So it's all on 3-cell, but we had a good time with it. Good flying airplane. Enjoy the flight footage, and we'll see you back here and give you our final thoughts. Hand launching couldn't be simpler. A little bit of throttle, a gentle toss, and it flies right out of your hand, even in AS3X mode. UMX Conscendo flies like its bigger brother, and when you push the throttle forward, this thing hauls the mail. that was a pretty poor hammerhead attempt. Let's try it again. There we go. Yeah, so as gliding touch and goes go, I admit that one kind of sucked. So here we're just going to glide around a bit. Terrible day for it, but we just wanted to show that it will do it. When we get a bit low, we'll do a quick climb to altitude and do it just a bit more. Ain't no way we're ending on that. So the goal was pretty simple with this one. Make a mini Conscendo Evolution. Give people the same versatility, the same experience that they get with that airplane in a much smaller package. And I think they hit it out of the park. I mean, you saw it. So one of the things that makes that airplane so versatile is that it can wear many hats, as can this. And I think that's what makes the Conscendos in general, regardless of the size, a real bargain for the price point. It's because they can wear so many hats. If you are a person that is on a budget and buying an airplane is something that you don't get to do very often, so you're very careful about the choices that you make, I would definitely at least consider and look into something like this, because for one price point, one space in your hangar, you have an airplane that can give you a different experience every time you go out and fly it. They do well as a motor glider, they do well as a sport aerobatic plane, and they do well as a racer plane, which is something that a lot of people don't mention about the Conscendos, but that's one of the first things that I thought when I flew the big one, and it was resonated with me with this one. The sound, even at this size that this little thing makes at full throttle, at full speed, is the kind of sound that gets your adrenaline pumping, and you can tell this is faster than your average ultra micro, just like the Big Brother is faster than your average sport plane and motor glider. So it's really cool that you can go into your hangar, take an airplane out, and every time you fly it, get a different experience if you want it for one price. So for someone on a budget, definitely something to think about. Horizon says that this is a skill level 2 airplane. That means that if you've mastered a trainer, this would make a good second airplane. We see no reason not to absolutely agree with that. It's not difficult to fly. You can certainly turn it down from our setup and make it even easier to fly. And it's an airplane that somebody that's mastered a trainer can grow with. And that's what you want out of your second airplane. Something that can teach you some techniques that your trainer can't teach you. And that's exactly what this can do. And then finally, the thing that I like about this, and I actually like this about every Ultra Micro, they are remote ID exempt. And in this country, that is becoming quite a precious commodity, especially with the people that don't fly at AFRIA. You can take your UMX Conscendo out to any place large enough to fly it, and so long as you're being careful and not putting people and property in danger, turn that into your flying field, and you don't have to worry about it. And that convenience is really nice. So if you decide that you'd like to add one of these to your hangar, we'll put some links in the description. When you go through those, it supports our channel. So if you'd like to support us, we appreciate it when you do that. Thank you. That's it for us. Take care of yourselves. Happy flying. We'll see you next week with something cool with wings.